It happened faster than anyone could blink. One moment, Adil was leaping into the air, trying to catch that cricket ball like he always did, full of confidence, showing off for his little shadow, Zayan. The next moment, he was gone. Just gone. A sharp crack of dry bushes snapping, a puff of dirt, and silence. Zayan froze, his small feet, dusty and bare, locked in place. His eyes, wide with confusion, scanned the empty patch where his friend had stood just seconds ago, and then it came, the scream. "Zayan! Zayan, help me! I can't climb!" The voice echoed from somewhere deep underground. Zayan ran forward, nearly tumbling over the edge himself. And that's when he saw it. A circular pit in the earth, old, broken, half covered with wild grass and branches. A forgotten well. And inside it, gripping onto a narrow ledge, was Adil. 10 years old, scraped up, terrified. His fingers were slipping. Zayan's mind went blank. There were no adults, no nearby houses, no one to call. He was 6, just 6. He couldn't even tie his shoes properly yet. What was he supposed to do? He looked down again. Adil was crying now, trying not to, but failing. "Please, don't leave me." Zayan's lip trembled. His tiny hands balled into fists. He took one shaky breath. "I won't," he whispered, more to himself than to Adil. No one would believe what happened next. Not the villagers, not the elders, not even Zayan years later when he looked back on it. But in that moment, none of that mattered. The world had gone silent. And in that silence, something fierce started burning inside that little boy's chest. And he moved. Zayan didn't stop to plan. He didn't ask himself if he was strong enough. He didn't even cry. He just moved. His eyes darted around until they locked onto something. An old ox cart, tipped slightly to the side, with a thick rope tied to it. Maybe used to haul wood, or hay, or water. Didn't matter. It was hope. He ran like his legs were borrowed from lightning, grabbed the rope, yanked with all his might, and ran back to the edge of the well. "Adil, grab this!" he shouted, his voice cracking. Adil reached up and clung to it like his life depended on it, because it did. And then came the impossible part. Zayan pulled. The rope burned into his palms, dirt crammed under his fingernails. His arms felt like they were being ripped from his shoulders. His knees shook. His breath turned ragged. But he didn't stop. He didn't even think of stopping. His brain had no room for, "What if I fail?" or "I'm too small." That kind of fear doesn't exist in children who haven't been taught to doubt yet. There was just one voice in his head, and it screamed, "Get him out! Get him out now!" The rope slipped once. He almost lost it. His heels dug into the ground so hard they left trenches in the dry earth. And then, one final yank, one last scream, one desperate burst of everything he had and didn't have. And suddenly, Adil was out. Both boys collapsed onto the ground, muddy, trembling, silent. And in that silence, something holy filled the air. Not the kind you pray to, but the kind that's born when belief beats everything else. They didn't waste a second. Still shaking, still covered in dust and adrenaline, Adil and Zayan ran all the way back to the village. Their feet slapped the dirt, hearts pounding, eyes wide like they'd seen a ghost. Because, in a way, they had. They'd stared death in the face and pulled life back out with bare hands. They burst into the courtyard where the elders were gathered for tea. "Adil fell in the well," Zayan shouted. "I pulled him out with a rope." For a second, there was silence. Then it hit. Laughter. One of the aunties spilled her tea, wheezing. "You pulled him out?" she said, pointing at Zayan like he was part of a bad joke. "Child, you can't even lift a bucket without help." A man in the back added, "This is what happens when kids make up stories from too much sun." Someone else chuckled. "Maybe a bird flew in and saved him, eh?" The whole village laughed. Adil tried to speak, tried to explain how it really happened, how Zayan didn't hesitate, how his tiny hands bled. But no one wanted the story. They wanted the version that made sense, the one where kids stayed weak, where size decided strength, and where 6-year-olds couldn't do miracles. Zayan stood still, his mouth closed, his hands fidgeted. He didn't cry, he didn't argue. He just looked around at the people who were supposed to believe in him and saw nothing but doubt staring back. It's strange, isn't it? You can do the impossible and still be called a liar, just because the world's too scared to believe it's real. The laughter was fading, but the sting of it still hung in the air like smoke. Adil lowered his eyes. Zayan just stood there, small, dusty, silent. The crowd was done listening. They were ready to walk away. And then, a slow tap of a cane on stone. Everyone turned. It was Baba Siraj, the oldest man in the village. He rarely spoke, rarely smiled, and never interrupted. But now he stepped forward, his back bent, his eyes sharp. He looked at Zayan, then at Adil, then back at the villagers. "You all think this boy is lying?" he asked quietly. A few shrugged. One muttered, "It's just not possible." Baba Siraj shook his head. "You're asking the wrong question." He walked slowly toward Zayan. The boy looked up at him, unsure what was coming. "The question," Baba Siraj said, his voice steady, "is not how he did it. It's why he could." That silenced the courtyard. Baba Siraj leaned in, eyes never leaving Zayan. He didn't know he wasn't supposed to. No one told him he was too weak. No one told him it was impossible. And so he didn't carry your doubt. He only carried his friend. The crowd fell quiet, really quiet. Even the auntie who'd laughed the loudest was suddenly blinking fast, like something had cracked in her chest. For the first time, they didn't see a small boy. They saw something they didn't expect. They saw truth. That night, Zayan lay awake under a thin blanket, the stars blinking softly outside his small window. His hands still ached, his body tired, but his mind raced. What had really happened today? Was it some kind of miracle? Was he really strong enough to pull Adil out of that well? He didn't have the answers. All he knew was this: he believed. There was no fear holding him back, no voice telling him he was too small or weak, just a simple, stubborn belief that he had to save his friend. That was enough to move mountains, or at least pull a boy from the bottom of a well. Zayan whispered to the dark, "Maybe that's the real miracle." He didn't need cheers or trophies or proof, because deep inside, he understood something most adults forget. Strength isn't about muscles or size. It's about what your mind chooses to believe. When doubt stays silent, the impossible becomes possible. And that's the real message here. This is David from Tales of Wisdom, reminding you to guard the voice inside your heart. Don't let doubt sneak in and steal your power. Because sometimes that inner child, the one full of hope and fearless belief, might just be the hero who saves the day. So hold on to your belief, protect it, and watch how far it can take you.